Well, many of you may remember that this Lent I've been preaching about discipleship and how we are all called to be Jesus' disciple. And throughout the Lenten season, the Samaritan woman, the blind man that Jesus healed, and Lazarus all have shown us what happens when we commit ourselves to walk with Jesus and to be his disciples. They've taught us that following Jesus dramatically changes the focus of your life. They've shown us that following Jesus opens up our eyes, gives us a whole new perspective on our lives and the world. They've taught us that following Jesus means that we can live from divine life, a life that is greater than death itself. So Palm Sunday and this coming Good Friday then remind us that as disciples of Jesus, we always have to walk to the cross. Not an easy thing to do, but we always have to walk to the cross. Unlike Peter and the disciples who fled, we walk with him to the cross. And this year, as we read the Passion, I hope that you imagined yourself there with Jesus. I hope you imagine yourself sitting there at the Last Supper as he passes the cup and passes out the Eucharist. I hope that you were there in the garden with the other disciples as he was arrested. I hope you walked with Peter up to Caiaphas' house and then stood with the crowd as Pilate interrogated Jesus. I hope you were there with the women at the cross as he hung there dying. You see, walking with Jesus, being his disciple, and walking to the cross, that's hard. That's disturbing stuff, watching what happened to him, watching what he endured for us. But did you notice, as we walk with him through his passion, as these terrible, horrific things happen to Jesus, that in an odd, strange way, he starts to shine this light on all the forces that want to destroy our world. That somehow, as he walks through his passion and death, he shines a light on these forces that want to crush us and dehumanize us and destroy our world. He exposes the forces of betrayal and fear. He brings into the light lies and injustice. He gets us to see that religious leaders and political and military forces can accuse and arrest and torture and lynch people. He brings this all out into the light. He exposes the forces of hate and brutality and death and evil itself. And in doing so, he begins to free us from them. And he also shines a light on those who are hurt by these forces, who need the care of his disciples. Now today, my friends, of course, our world is still plagued by the very forces that tortured and killed Jesus. These forces, they're polarizing our society. They're pitting one person against another. This is even happening in our church. These same forces, they continue to drive the racism in our country and the anti-Semitism that we hear in our politics. And these very forces, they're getting us to kill our kids and worship AK-47s. These are the same forces that are destroying our very planet. But you see, when you walk with Jesus through the Passion, he starts to show you who needs to be taken down from the cross. He starts to show us as his disciples who we need to care for, who we need to love. But there's more that's going on in the mystery of Jesus' passion. And here it is. When we walk with Jesus to the cross, we discover that he walks with us in our life. When we accompany Jesus through his passion and death, we discover that he accompanies us in all situations, in all experiences. Enter into his passion, and you will find that he is entering into your life to free you, to free us from all of these destructive forces. You see, when we walk with the Lord through his passion up to his cross, we find that the living God of infinite love walks with us in every situation to free us. The God of infinite love walks into those horrific situations, those horrific events, so that we no longer do to each other what was done to Jesus. He comes to free us from our rage and our hate. He comes to free us from our idols and from our cruelty. And this is where this gets personal. This is where Palm Sunday and Good Friday get real personal. Because walk with Jesus to the cross, and you will find he walks with you. He will walk with you into those places where you've been hurt to heal you. He will step into your loneliness and tell you you're not alone. I'm with you. He will walk with you even when you're afraid and anxious. And he will come to you, to those places and situations in your past where you've done things you're ashamed of, to forgive you. You see, Jesus is the beauty and love of God. And he wants to enter into those situations where terrible things were done to you, to free you from them, to renew your lives. You see, my friends, Jesus is a rescue worker. And when those walls and ceilings and floors in your life collapse, he will find you and rescue you. Because nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not even killing Jesus can separate us from him. He can find you in those dark places, in those broken relationships, in your grief and rage, to rescue you and heal you and make things new. So don't be afraid to invite him into those places you're ashamed of, into those hard and difficult places, those broken relationships, because he can come and bring life and healing and freedom like you've never known before. And the cross keeps teaching us that not even killing Jesus, that death itself cannot stop the love of God from coming to us. So my friends, as we enter into Holy Week, walk with the Lord to the cross and discover that he indeed walks with you. Walk with him, and you will find him shining God's bright light and bringing God's healing into every part of your life. You will discover the meaning of Easter.